Okay, awesome. Yes, I can hear you great.
Well, thank you for agreeing to this interview.
Yes.
We'll start. Well, let me tell you this first.
Yes.
There will be an audio version of this that comes out on our YouTube channel, but the print version will be first, and that will be in the February edition on our website.
Okay. Very cool.
And if you'd like a physical copy, we'll send you one for free.
I would love one.
Sweet. So let's start here. What is your name, and where are you?
My name is Nicolette. I am in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. My stage name is NOMOORE.
NOMOORE. NOMOORE.
Yes.
How long have you been playing music in Oklahoma?
I've been like seriously performing live here since 2022, 2023 probably.
Okay.
Like into 2022, 2023. But I've been making stuff here since I was like 16.
Nice. And what form would that take?
Yeah, so the first thing I put out an album on Bandcamp, I think when I was 17. Um, and then it's kind of just been like, yeah, putting stuff online since then. Um, I wasn't like tapped in when I first started. I wasn't like tapped into the local scene, and there also that I was aware of wasn't like a scene for what I was doing in terms of
Mhm.
like electronic music and like more experimental electronic music. And so I very much was living on Discord servers and kind of like communing with people that were on the same wavelength as me. It's nice now because there is a scene, and I like do have people like play with live, and we collaborate. At least like we talk to each other and like influence each other, which is nice.
And what sort of, I suppose it'd be software, would you use early on?
Oh, I've been so the first like so what before I went to college. I went to college for audio engineering. Before I went to college, I had Ableton Light, and so my first like two albums that I released, the first like thing I released, I don't really consider it canon, even though it gets counted in the number. Um, it's this album called like Water, and it's something that a 17-year-old would make. But my next record, I am proud of. This record, pictures taken out of tune. I put it out when I was 18, right when I graduated high school in 2022. Sorry, 2020. Um, and those both of those records were made on Ableton Light, so I only had access to 8 tracks because Ableton doesn't let you, if you have like the light version, you can't do more than 8 tracks. That was, I think, actually really good for me at the time because it made me like think about each individual element and make big decisions. I definitely affected my mixing in a negative way that I just didn't seem to care about, I guess, because I would do the. It was like I was working with tape where they had like a 8 track or like a 4 track tape recorder, because I would take a Ableton session that I had like worked in and like made something in, and then I'd want to build more on it, so I would just bounce that down and then put that as a track in the next one, and then I'd have 7 more tracks to build on top of it and keep layering from there. I could go back and change things in the other session if I wanted to, but there was this like bounce down process for those first two things I did that was really interesting.
That reminds me of like pop music in the 60s, like the Beatles and the Beach Boys would use that
Yes,
process, but
yes.
with tape.
Yeah, they'd have to make those decisions where they're like, all right, vocals and drums are on one track, and we're gonna go forward from there. And so I think it was good for me from a creative standpoint because it made decisions for me. And I'm sure you agree. Like anything that can help limit the amount of choices you make is nice
Yes, I
because then
like
you
rules
get to
for my
be.
work, limitations.
Yes, yes. And not everyone's good at that.
And so, have you always been in Oklahoma?
Born and raised.
What was your family like? Were they musical?
My dad raised me on hip hop. He like deeply loves hip hop, and like both of my parents love music. I'd say my dad definitely showed me the most stuff. I remember like when I was like, he just loved to show me stuff at like too young of an age in a good way. I remember driving to school because I left my math book there, and it was like I'd gone home for the day, and then I was like, oh, I left my math book, and so he drove me to school to pick it up. And while we were going there, he was like, here, watch this, and he handed me a phone, and it was the music video for Peter Gabriel's "Digging in the Dirt." Which I don't know if you've seen that, but it's cool. But when you're like, I was in 6th grade. I don't know what age that makes me, but when you're like in that grade and you're watching this guy get like buried in like claymation soil, there's like all these like wasps chasing after people. It's very. And then right after that finished, he goes, "Okay, let me show you another one." And then he upped the ante because he showed me the full video for "Hurt" by Nine Inch Nails.
Oh my!
Yeah, it really stuck with me, but in a positive way. I was like, "This is awesome." I think that had like a undeniable impact on me. That like one night.
Yeah, I feel like "Hurt" is pretty appropriate for like 6th or 7th grade to be introduced to. To be honest, like
I think lyrically for sure. I think seeing the monkey on the cross, like getting like whipped or whatever, that was a lot.
Well, see, I couldn't have the same experience for me because my age, that was on the TV when I was that age. You know, that was
That's
actually
awesome.
on MTV.
That's so cool. Yeah. That video's so good.
It's excellent.
Yeah.
It really opened possibilities on MTV that I don't think people had done before.
Yeah.
So,
really.
While we're talking influences, what are your primary influences?
I would say the person that got me actually confident in like making an album was like Dean Blunt. In high school, I remember listening to his tape Narcissist 2, and I understood how to make something that was like serious and artistic without having to worry about perfection. He gave me permission to like be loose and like not polish things, which is what I needed at the time. James Ferrero is one of my biggest influences, even though like he's done like a million different things, but just a lot of my influences are these people that like have like really wide and diverse catalogs, and I think that reflects in me as well because I'm always kind of doing different things depending on the release.
It seems like your work you like to explore.
Yeah, it's always just like what I'm listening to right now, and what I'm like engorging myself with is what I then kind of translate to my own like way of making things. Like this record I have coming out, it's I intentionally was literally just listening to this playlist I made of choice 60 psychedelic songs. I think there's a few 70s things in there, but I had like because I had like an idea of what I wanted it to be influenced by, and so I just made a playlist of like these songs and then listened to that and then made music while only listening to that. And it's like less that I was trying to make stuff that emulates that, and more just trying to have my like my creative space, my like subconscious mind full of that world. To see what would come out, because my record before, sorry, I'm just like going on it, but my record before that, Lady Godiva's Garden, Mother Mountain coming out soon, but Lady Godiva's Garden, my last record I put out, very much like was listening to exotica and hip hop, and that's what that record somehow is. It's like some fusion in there, and then the philosophy I was reading at the time, and I wanted to step away from that for this release and do something like simple. And I don't know if I like achieved that, but that was the goal of listening to those 60s records. Is everything's recorded on 4-track, 8-track. They have to make choices, kind of stripping things back.
Well, that generation of artists definitely are good for. I mean, they totally blew the doors open of what pop music could be. They 1965 you listen to something versus 1969 you listen to something. It's radically different.
Yeah, I've been obsessed with "Baby You're a Rich Man" recently.
Yeah.
By the Beatles, and like thinking about how that sounds, compared to just like 4 years before it, and like how freaked out it is for something that was like a pop song. Like they're literally like they're just like they keep all your money, and it's like so like it's just like they're freaked the fuck out. It's awesome.
Yeah, they when they released A Day in the Life, it was so strange the way it was composed. It was just like a piece of music and then just do something else and then just do something else. Like, it didn't have any continuity to it, but it kind of held itself together. But it was funny because the only part that that the radios were objecting to was that they said, "I want to turn you on," which is like so
Yes.
innocent sounding nowadays.
Yeah. I always think about that with One Toke Over the Line. I love that song, that Brewer Chepley song. But that song's so tame, and it was like band, hardcore band. It's the
Yeah,
only reason we still know it.
yeah, the Beatles, the most successful band at the time in the world, they wouldn't play one of their songs because they said, "I want to turn you on."
Yes.
It's fun. It's wild. So, tell me about some of your albums that you've recorded over the years.
Yeah. So I'd say there was a record I put out when I was like I said, when I was 17, called Water with 3 R's, um, which it's funny to actually say this, but I was thinking about Ski Mask the Slip God saying water, and I had this like image of this Powerade vending machine at my high school, and so, like those two things came together, and it was like, I don't even know, that record's very messy. It's very much like the first thing I did, and in a good way. Like, it was like, oh, this is where all my mistakes are, and then like that was supposed to be released as an EP. That's how I thought of it, and it like lengthwise it could be, I feel like, either, depending on who you are. But I put it up online, and somebody, I don't even know who would have even seen it, somebody submitted it to Rate Your Music and put it as an album, and I was like, oh, okay, well, now that's just what it's categorized as, so that decision got made for me. But then my first like thing I'm like, I think, proud of, I put it, like I said a second ago, I put it out right at the end of high school, and it's definitely like, it sums up what I was doing in that era, like from 16 to graduating high school. It's this album called Pictures Taken Out of Tune, and like the title is supposed to be, these are just a whole bunch of snapshots of where I'm at, but I don't know if I've properly captured that. But I had a lot of like end of high school, you have a lot of like friend issues. I think everyone goes through that. And so I'm capturing that. COVID was just starting, and I recorded like the last half of the record when that was going on. So it was kind of this like introspective period for me, because school just ended randomly one week, which is awesome. It was the most bizarre thing ever. But I also had this. I was meditating like crazy.
Yeah.
My senior year of high school, I was like really focused on doing like breathing techniques, and like kind of like starving myself of oxygen to see where it would get me, like kind of thing. And I uh, I got back from spring break, and we weren't going to school anymore, and I just like doubled down on it, and I was like doing my meditation that I normally do, and I got really good at like visualization and having these like landscapes I would walk through and stuff like that, and I like had a full like out of body experience. I'd been revisiting this beach over and over again in my like kind of like daydreams, and I like left my body and was like there, but in a way that I hadn't been before. And I saw this like red and black orb like floating above a cliff, and there was a guy, this is like across the bay, and there was a guy below like reaching up towards it, and like I was supposed to like watch it, like everything was telling me like, watch this, but I wanted to see what was to the sides of me, and so like I like kept trying to force myself to look to the side, and I wasn't supposed to, and finally I like looked, and when I did, everything just dissolved, and I just started falling in like blackness, and I was just falling
Oh
and
man.
falling and falling and falling and falling and falling. And then there's like a whole postscript for that I couldn't really capture, and then I like woke up. But that I wrote that as a story, and the album cover is depicting that scene, and it's kind of linked to the album to an extent. It's scattered, but that's the whole thing for that record. Uh,
Nice.
but it's cool. Yeah, I was in high school, so the piece, the idea with the actual like that whole experience means a lot to me, especially after the blackness and stuff. But I won't go into that. But when I wrote the thing, I didn't want to capture it in words, and I thought it would be cool. I'm always really sorry. I'm just going on and on and on. But
No, you're
or
making
like
it
I'm not
very
like,
easy for me.
okay, good. I didn't. I'm always really interested in like when cultures get their stories taken and then like converted into like Christianity. Do you know what I mean? Like different like pagan cultures, or like the Mormons say that like Quetzalcoatl's like Jesus, you know,
Yeah, like the Catholics
and
would call
stuff.
it baptizing. They would baptize
Yes.
paganism. Yeah.
Yeah. So for that piece, like the last assignment I did for my English class in high school, I was supposed to write. It was like a creative writing thing, and so I wrote that whole experience. But I went to this. I liked the school. It was a very good school, and their education was very much not tainted by the fact that they were an Episcopal school. Like there was a very much good separation of the two, but it still obviously was a huge like influence on me at the time. And so I like this event that had nothing to do with Christianity necessarily. I used Christian like themes and like imagery for the story, and basically like I'd say like colonized my own like religious experience, and then wrote it in the form of Christianity, which is cool for that piece. So that's if anybody reads it, that's why it's like all Christianed out, because that was I didn't want to try to capture something that meant a lot to me, so I perverted it. You know what I mean?
Uh huh. No, I mean your
Um,
work sounds very interesting.
yeah. I was on an interesting tip when I was in high school. I won't lie. Uh,
I
I was a weirdo.
I've also meditated for most of my life, and I used to have dreams where I would be falling backwards in a black vacuum. And
Yeah.
one of the dreams I had was really strange because I was fully awake, and as I fell asleep, reality dissolved, and then I just went backwards to a vacuum until I like landed into a dream on my feet.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think we're sort of into the same things.
Down the rabbit hole kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, see what I can see, go to the edge and look over.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
tell me more.
Yeah. So that kind of sums up that record. Then I went to college for audio engineering. There's a school here in Oklahoma called the Academy of Contemporary Music at the University of Central Oklahoma. It's a great school. I learned a lot about like more technical like audio engineering stuff. I recorded a lot of really cool groups. Um, but that was interesting because I was so I would, and now I've definitely come back around where I'm like, I think me in high school, I was very pretentious, but I think that was almost a good thing because I did have like, I had tastes, I had aesthetic values, I had like beliefs. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was very like dogmatic about that. And then I went to this music school, and I had to learn music history, but through the very much through the lens of like the pop machine,
Mm,
like making money, like a lot of the business side of things. And
right.
that like pretty much the whole time I was in college, you know, everything gets credited to the Beatles as them being the best ever,
Uh huh.
because they're the financially the ones that set the blueprint. And so I was just like the biggest Beatles hater all of like college,
Mm-hmm.
out of principle, because you know, but now I'm not in that environment, so I can be like, oh, well, they're cool X amount of
No,
ways.
if
But
I've been in a stage of re-listening to the Beatles for the same thing, like the whole indie and DIY communities, like you're supposed to hate the Beatles for so long, and I've been listening to them a
it's for
lot,
good reason, I feel like. But
and you know what? But it's like if you take where they started and where they ended up, they developed as artists. They were like real artists, you know. They didn't.
yes,
They
yes.
started out super poppy and super making money ish, and then they ended up as these kind of abstract pop artists. So
It's 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 the same with the monkeys too, you know.
I don't. Maybe I never listened to them.
You need to watch. Have you ever seen Head, their movie?
No.
You need to check that out. It's the same kind of thing, except even more so, because you know they were a fake band that was like put together. Like they weren't even organic whatsoever.
So
Like as
someone
opposed to
else
the
was
Beatles.
writing, in other words.
Somebody has said they were like, some of them I'm pretty sure weren't even musicians. They were just like, yeah, you're in like this famous band now, and kind of like, I mean, I guess what the Sex Pistols would
I
do
was about to
later,
say
but
that the Sex
yeah,
Pistols were
yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but they became like so, just like they have their TV show where they're doing like it's like predates Monty Python and like the way that they're doing these like fourth wall breaks and like comedy and stuff. They were definitely, I feel like their film stuff is where they like shined. But they same thing, they become like super avant-garde. It's
Hmm.
crazy. That doesn't happen now. Like One
No.
Direction would never do Revolver. Do you know what I mean?
Right. And
Like,
then they wouldn't get to Sergeant Pepper's. It's just not going to happen.
yeah.
But,
I don't know what happened there.
acid. I think.
Well, no,
think,
I mean, why we stopped, like, why
oh,
those
I
groups
see what you're
stopped
saying.
getting
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Yeah.
yeah, for
Like,
sure. Yeah, I don't want to give too much credit to acid for the Beatles either, but I do think it made a big difference that the drug had never existed before, and then it happened.
absolutely.
Yeah,
All their drugs. Yeah.
yeah,
They do weed and they make rubber soul. They do acid, they make revolver, you know?
yeah. Revolver and
Um,
Sergeant
so
Pepper's
on.
and so on and so forth. Yeah.
Yeah, and then heroin for the White Album, you know, and so on and so on. Yeah.
At least John. That one, that one you don't want to mess with as much, I don't think. But that's
No.
for the kids out
Yeah.
there,
Yeah, don't do drugs, I guess, unless they're cool ones.
unless they're
you know,
good,
but
but not
yeah, I'll leave
and
that up to your
consensual
discretion.
and consensual.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Love your body. That's what we'll say.
yeah. Know
Yeah.
thyself.
Yes.
So, tell me about your most recent album that you were just about to release.
Um, so I'm about to release an album called. Well, do we want to go to my new album, or do we? I was leading to this. We got a tangent. I'm so sorry, but Lady Godiva's Garden. That's my album right before the one I'm about to put out. It's really good.
Don't you don't have to rush through it. Just go.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Sorry. That one more so than pictures. I'm like interested in, because yeah. So into college, I put out this record called Lady Godiva's Garden. I was reading Finnegan's Wake for 2 years while I was simultaneously making it, and I was reading a whole bunch of like, I was really into the like CCRU scene out of Warwick from the 90s. I don't know if you know anything about that stuff.
I don't know if I know anything about that. I might.
Okay. But like,
Who was involved with it?
So it's Nick Land before he goes.
Yes. Okay, I know who you're talking
Dark
about.
Enlightenment, but before he goes Dark Enlightenment,
Before he
and, like,
becomes
Mark
a
Fisher,
cyber fascist.
well, he was like a cyber something, but it's a lot more vague, and so it's a lot more interesting. Mark Fisher was a part of that scene.
Mhm.
Sadie Plant, Code 9. Like a ton of really influential British people were like in that world. But that was my introduction to. They have like their own kind of insane version of like Kabbalah that they work
Uh-huh.
with. They
I am
have like
familiar.
they have a diagram called the numogram and stuff. I was just like super into that and like reading it like crazy. And I did this project in 2022 called Occult Candyland. This is not a music. It was a zine I distributed in Oklahoma City. I was like standing in Target one day and I was staring at Candyland and I was like, Candyland, like there's a deck and it has these archetypes within it, and as you like play the game they reveal themselves to you and you move around the board through all these different colors, and like you start out at 0 on the gingerbread fields and then you enter into this kind of like zone of like reproduction and like feedback where you move forward but then you move backward, but you move forward, you move backward, and then eventually you like break out and into this like new kingdom, into like King Candy's castle. And I was like sitting and I was like, I'm gonna make a zine out of this. So I mapped their numogram to the Candyland board game, because the Candyland board game has 10 zones. And so 0 in the gingerbread fields all the way up to the 3-6 zone, Gloppy King Candy. And like Gloppy is like that feedback, Gloppy is this chocolate like goop of like shit just like eating itself, and reading Finnegan's Wake at the same time I'm doing this. Finnegan's Wake, it's a loop, it starts in the middle of a sentence. It's just one recursive like feedback. And so like all of these ideas of just like circles and feedback and like one fours. And so Lady Godiva's Garden is influenced by all of that. A lot of the like bonus art is from that zine. You actually get the Candyland zine if you buy the album. But the record is like, it's really interesting. I always want a Wake scholar to like listen to it, because I am doing hip hop and I'm like rapping, but I'm referencing my Candyland like zine and Finnegan's Wake and like all these other just like when it got reviewed by somebody and they said it's like a digitally brain rotted Gen Z Zoomer trying desperately to like piece symbols together. And what I told people at the time is that's really funny, because I feel like it's actually like a chronically offline piece in some way, because like all my references are just these like books, like everything's like very niche
Or a children's
but not
video.
in, like,
A children's game.
board game, yeah, but it's like very offline as a record, which is funny. I totally understood what they were saying. Like I'm not one to like say somebody was wrong for getting that out of it.
I don't know. That sounds
But
like cope from them to me.
yeah, I think there was a bit of projection. I don't know, but like their review was good. I understood what they were seeing, and like it's not like it's obvious. Like they haven't read Finnegan's Wake, you know. It's like whenever I'm like saying these completely like insane sentences, the closest reference they're gonna have is like schizo posting on Twitter. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I mean, people don't like when people are smart. Unfortunately, they
that's
just
true,
resent it. But
especially in America. Yeah.
yes,
Um, but yeah, that record also it came out shortly. Like there's a lot of repression on both of the picture taken out of tune and that. There's a lot of themes of like repression and like hiding yourself, and that's kind of why Lady Godiva's Garden is so I would say like esoteric and like occulted and like intentionally kind of like hidden behind these layers of obfuscation. Is I was like very afraid to I was in an environment where I couldn't be honest about who I am and what I want to do, and I had this urge to still get that out, and I had to do it under duress and under like symbols and codes. And so the album is just symbols and codes, and there's all these like little things I worked in to try to like tip people off on where I was headed in terms of like me and my identity and stuff,
did
which is
it
really cool.
did it did it ever get to Lord Licorice?
One of my biggest like my favorite things about the whole Candyland thing is you can look at it as like uh this thing of like, oh, you have like this nice system, and then in the middle is like Lord Licorice like rotting it away, and we have to like cut back at that. But then you could also look at it as like, Lord Licorice is right in the middle, and he's rotting away at the like King Candy complex, this like hierarchical fascistic society, and he's coming in and like he's got these like militant like working class factory workers that he's like mobilizing against King Candy. Like he's like, I don't know.
He's trying to bust it up.
I'm always trying to think of my sequel book, because I could do it better, but I have to have something to say. That's always the thing.
So it's kind of like Candyland is the transmigration of the soul. Is that
Yes,
what? Yes.
yeah, that's how it started. But now I'm like, no, like we gotta actually. Initially, I was like, oh, King Candy's castle, like that's the goal. That's where we need to reach. And now I'm like, no, we need to go into the castle and tear it down. We need to eat the flesh of this like ruler. We need to liberate the licorice factory workers.
Yeah, Lord Licorice and Mr. Peppermint have to join together.
Yes, yeah. That's that Marx and Lenin for the Candyland world,
Exactly, because it's false consciousness to believe that licorice is versus peppermint sticks.
I like licorice, it's good. That's the thing.
I don't, but it's just a matter of taste, I think.
Oh well, there you go.
But I love Lord Licorice.
Yes, his outfits, his mustache.
He's on it.
Yes.
So now to the new album?
Yes. And so now, moving from that, I got done with that record, and I really do like that record. But like I said, it's so dense, and it's so like occulted, and so like there's just so much going on, and it's hard to like even grasp what I'm trying to say sometimes, because like like the middle of the album, there's a complete like red herring, I guess, or like just like it's there because it's funny. There's an album about this guy Alan Greenway who lives in Iowa. He's a seedsman of over 60 years, and I'm obsessed with him. He just grows seeds, and like
cool.
I made a collage of his pieces. Anyways, all these things, and so I was like, let's get away from that. Let's get away from doing all these niche and like obscure references, and let's like try to actually talk about just like being straightforward and like being open and being simple. And so the songs it's a very slow record. It's like very honest. It's definitely, I think, probably my most lyrically dense, or at least recording it had to do a lot more vocal work than I've ever had to do. It was a big learning experience, getting better at like processing my vocals and mixing my vocals, because before they were kind of just an element in this bigger soup, and now it's like they're kind of the center of some of the songs. But earlier, it's very influenced by like 60s psychedelica. I don't know if that comes across, but that's where I was at. And I've used the Casio. Which one is it? Hold on, it's right next to me. It's this Casio keyboard. It's not the SK1. It's like a full size one that can do the same thing. So you can record your voice into it with its like microphone, and then you can chromatically play that sample up and down.
Nice.
And so side two of the record very much was made with that keyboard, like as all the like peppering textural things, and then like some synths and stuff. But that was kind of the second half. I was just playing with that to make like the backing tracks, and then the first half is I was in California, and I was supposed to go home at the same time as my girlfriend, back to Oklahoma, because she went to college out there, and I went out there to visit her. But I got the dates. I didn't understand. I didn't realize that she had to be back here for like a very specific like event a day earlier than I'd booked my thing out to. So I ended up with this extra day in California. But I didn't have a car, and I like needed to be by the airport because my flight was really early. So I just like booked this hotel really close to the airport and was just kind of holed up in there all day. And I just recorded like 5 songs. I had a window that was just a direct view of the San Gabriel Mountains. Like I had this great look at the cliff, at the mountain, and I just was thinking about like mountains and like at the time, just like staring at it for some reason, it really spoke. They're beautiful. They're just so gorgeous, and it really spoke to where I was at the time. And so the first half of the record was all kind of made in that one day, composed in that one day, staring at that, writing, being inspired by that, and then I thought it was going to be 2 EPs, and then I got home and was like, oh, these thematically fit together very well, and kind of added some things and made it work as a record. But it's cool too because I was very interested in 60s psychedelica, and like very interested in like I was like thinking about the A-side, B-side of records, and then suddenly I just made this record that has an A-side, has a B-side. So that worked out very well. I think that's kind of one of the places that's like really, it's really evident in. But I kind of, one of the things with this record too I like is that I feel like I have an order of A-side, B-side, but I want to do, I don't know if I'll do it for this, if I do a vinyl release for this vinyl release, but I do want to do a thing where like you don't have the A-side or the B-side listed intentionally, and it's like that sequence is up to you to decide, where you have these 2 parts, but you get to make this decision when you go in. I thought for a long time that, or not for a long time, I read somewhere during the process of making this album that Zeppelin actually, Zeppelin did that on their Satanic Majesty's request. That one side was the light side, one side was the dark side, and there was this guy in a forum arguing that it was actually supposed to be like the A side that everyone says the A side was actually supposed to be the B side. But I haven't been able to find that recently because I was like, that's stuck in my head as like an idea. I was like, that's so cool.
I think,
but I don't think that's true. If I look it up, I don't think that's true.
I think that's the Rolling Stones released that album.
Oh, did I say Zeppelin? I'm at the Stones.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
That's redact that.
Redacted, not really.
Yeah.
But...
yeah. Well, there you go.
Okay. So I'm going to wind it down, and I'm going to ask you 3 questions.
Yes.
First of all, is there anything you'd like to promote?
I want to promote my new album, Mother Mountain. I'm coming out. I set the date today, actually, for the 27th of March, and I'm going to stick to that because I'm putting it in here now. So March 27th, I'm going to be releasing Mother Mountain. You heard it here first. It's going to be available on Bandcamp and other marketplaces that are being determined right now. I don't know if it'll be available for streaming. I actually think I might just do digital purchase only and physical releases. because I'm kind of just I'm not streaming music currently. I have like a big enough collection of music. I just listen to what I own, and I want to encourage that. I feel like I don't have to. I'm not going to get the type of audience that needs it to be on streaming to listen. So I'm not too worried about that going forward. And I think part of the promo is going to be taking it down. So yeah, don't look for it on streaming. Find it on Bandcamp probably, and wherever else I post about. Follow me at NOMOORE01 on Instagram currently. That might change. We'll see.
That's NOMOORE.
NOMOORE01 for my Instagram account.
All right. Second question.
Yes.
What is most important?
I think what's most important is making things to put out your like essence into the universe. I think it's humanity's job to consume things and then reform it and put it back out into the world. I think we're big processing machines. That's why we're so good at making connections. And I think that everyone ought to do that for the sake of doing it and for their own enjoyment and fulfillment. And I think that you need to avoid at all costs somebody having you do that for their benefit and their sake. I think you need to have personal creation untethered by, as untethered as you can be by somebody else milk sucking that from you. Yeah,
all right.
I guess we'll say that.
And the final question is there anything you were hoping to talk about we didn't get to? And if so, you can say it here or not.
Ryan did the album cover. It looks awesome. I'm very excited about it. It's exactly what I wanted in a way that I didn't know I wanted it, which is awesome. And look forward to that because y'all are gonna love it.
All right. Thank you for agreeing to the interview.
Yes, thank you. I hope this went well.
I think it did.
That's good. That's good.
Have a good night.
So good to hear from you. Have a good night.